There's a phrase in model railroading that's often used to describe the Bachmann Thomas and Friends range, and that term is sucks ass. Now to be fair, their narrow gauge and N scale lines have been home run after home run, but their HO range, and especially their earliest entries, need a total revamping. This was fine once upon a time when these were advertised and priced like toys, but these days, the fans have had to step up and fix their shortcomings. People have made their own resin-printed bodies based on the dimensions of the props, created swappable faces with posable eyes, and people like Crafty Nerd have even made new gearboxes for the Thomas and Percy chassis so it doesn't sound like you're running a blender around your layout. But when it comes to the side rods and valve gear for these early entries, people have either left them as is, or taken to dremeling them down to be thinner. But in this day and age with resin-printed bodies, we can do something better, right? I was talking about this one day with my friend George, Bold.95, and he offered a spare Gordon he had for me to tinker with, which I accepted. When it arrived, I went through CAD's for Gordon replica made by Rosie Jamostrainos and adapted the valve gear to be more suitable for 3D printing just to see what could be done. But then, something terrible happened. They worked. But Jordan, isn't this a good thing? No, because now that I know this is doable, I can't just give up. Since the idea had legs, I knew I'd have to have these made in metal for the sake of durability and appearance. After researching different means of production, I found that PCM etching would be the way to go. If you don't know what PCM etching is, basically simple, yeah? I eventually landed on having them made by Ponico, who charge a flat rate no matter how many parts can be made in a single batch. I reached out to Rosie for permission to have these made, since I was using her CADs as a basis and all. She was super supportive, and this will lead to something really cool that I'll discuss in a bit. To make up for the high production costs, I got the okay from her to reach out to people that were interested in getting their own, and charge enough to make up for the cost of production. Once I put out the form and everyone paid up, I placed the order with Ponico, and a month later the edges arrived. And let me tell you, the parts looked absolutely terrible. What the fuck happened? The holes are the wrong size and the indents are way too big. These parts are completely unusable. I hit up Ponico and asked what the hell the deal was. Hey, so I put a PCM order through y'all, and the parts all look like ass cheeks. No, like, in a bad way. I mean, I skimmed through your design guides, isn't that good enough? No, I didn't prototype anything first. What the hell is a curve tolerance? And so, with a heavy heart, I let people know that, thanks to no one's fault but my own, I'd be having to redo the designs, eat the cost of making new prototypes, and delay the final product by an unknown amount of time. The people at Ponico were very helpful through all of this, I just want to say. True story, when I placed the order for production prototypes, one of the parts didn't come out well due to a common machining error. So after contacting me, they not only sent the missing part, but every other part in the batch for free. And when the final etches came in, they included extras that had to be made for a similar reason. And Ponico doesn't just do PCM etching. They do laser and plasma cutting, CNC machining, custom PCBs, and more. This video isn't sponsored, but I certainly wouldn't decline if they offered. Being much more careful this time, it only took one batch of production prototypes to nail the specifics down. And here we are today where I'll be showing you how to assemble these etches. But before that, what was that cool thing I mentioned earlier? Well, I'm very pleased to announce that this etch kit is an official collaboration between myself and Rosie. When you go to the link in the description, you'll be able to get your own set of high-quality stainless steel etches that'll boost your Bachmann models to a degree never before possible. You can also pay a bit extra to have the cylinders and brackets for the valve gear printed, and if after watching this video you don't feel like you're able to do the job, you can also pay me to assemble them for you. And remember that each kit you buy not only goes to helping me make more products like this, but it also goes to support Rosie. She's not only a highly skilled replica maker and model builder, but she releases her work to the public for free. That's just the kind of gift that keeps on giving. So go to the link in the description and pick up your own Fourmill Models Bachlin BR 78 valve gear etches today. $25 each plus shipping. Now without further ado, what's needed to assemble this kit? You'll need a Bachmann Gordon or Henry with their factory valve gear, a Fourmill Models Bachlin BR 78 etched valve gear set, these purpose-made 3D printed cylinders made from CADs by Rosie and Noah the LBSC Thomas, the files for which are available for free, link in the description, a 3D printed bracket of my own design for this valve gear, same folder as the cylinders, a pin drill with a variety of small metric bits, metal snippers, a hammer and model rivet driver, though you could use pliers instead, HO00 scale squeeze fit valve gear rivets that are 2 and 3.5 millimeters in length. I bought these off eBay, but there's lots of places to get rivets like these, jeweler's files, a screwdriver and bolt kit, 1mm diameter aluminum rod, and some super glue. Start by testing that all of your rivets go through the holes in the edges properly. If the holes are too tight, use that pin drill to enlarge the hole with the right size bit. These rivets I use have a 0.9mm diameter shaft, but yours may differ. Just know that since these edges are made out of stainless steel, they're going to be pretty tough, so if the bits do break, just know what happened to me in my first time. Next, you'll want to start removing the valve gear from the sprues. Make sure you snip only the sprues, and be careful not to misplace any parts. I really recommend steering clear of a Dremel for this project. It may make some of the steps faster, but you risk damaging or losing parts, which would mean you would have to order another set and... With the parts off the sprues, you'll notice there are still some sprues sticking out. So this is where those files come in. This is the most tedious part to do if you're wanting to do it right, so throw on a podcast or something. Once the parts are filed smooth like you see here, get the valve gear hanger and bend this tab inwards at a right angle away from the etched detail. The best way I found to do it is to hold the hanger in some pliers with the tab sticking out and using the end of a needle file to push the tab down. Do it right and you got a good clean bend. Let's make the valve rod next. Take that aluminum rod and hammer one end flat on a hard surface, then drill a hole in the flattened end. Snip it off, trim it to shape, and there you go. With the parts prepared, it's time to remove the crosshead and return crank off the Bachmann valve gear. To remove the return crank, drill the rivet out on the back until the part comes off. For the crosshead, file the rivet heads down until everything comes apart. Just make sure that when you're filing, you go light and check your work often. With all the parts laid out before you, you're ready to rivet everything together. And you'll mostly be using these shorter rivets for this kit. Typically, you'd use a model rivet driver and a hammer if you're determined to do this correctly, but if you only have pliers, those will work too, and may even work better for some steps. The way this works is you feed a rivet through the two parts you want to join together, give a few good whacks on a hard surface to deform the end of the shaft so your parts stay together. If you're using pliers, hold the rivet in the pliers and gently squeeze so the shaft mushrooms out. If you go too hard and the movement is tight, file down the rivet head until your parts separate. The exact way to assemble this valve gear can be tricky, so follow this animation if you need help. Start with the hanger and then attach the expansion link to the outside right here. Then you'll take the connecting rod and rivet that to the outside of the expansion link. In front, you'll take the drop link and rivet that to the outside of the hanger through the top hole here, attach the valve rod to the hole just below it, and finally rivet the anchor link to the outside of the drop link here. Now we can attach the crosshead to the anchor link and drive rod. You may have to enlarge the hole in the crosshead for the anchor link rivet, so just do it a little bit at a time or the crosshead may break. When you've got them joined together, use a longer rivet to join the drive rod to the back of the crosshead. Use another longer rivet to connect the return crank to the connecting rod here. And make sure the return crank is facing the right side when you do this. With your valve gear all assembled, make sure that the cylinders can accept the parts. If you need to enlarge the holes, do it a little bit at a time or else the fit may be too slack and the running will be sloppy. When you put your hanger into the cylinder, push it in and do some test movement to make sure your parts aren't bumping into the cylinders. This can potentially cause the valve gear to jam up. I was able to connect the cylinders to the chassis by opening up the mounting hole and using the original screw, but your methods may vary. With the cylinders now attached, go put the coupling rods on the wheels. Then slip the drive rod onto the middle crank, and then screw in the return crank. Word of advice, it always points towards the axle. Now take the printed bracket and apply a small daub of superglue onto the flat end. Then press it onto the bottom of the footplate where the tab is, and hold it there until the glue fully cures. Then feed the tab through the slot and you're done with the first side. Repeat the steps for the other side and you're done. Of course you'll still want to paint and line the cylinders and paint the valve gear hanger a more concealing color. But just for this assembly tutorial, I won't be doing that just so that all the work is easy to view. When you've got your valve gear finished and assembled, please show it off on Twitter, Blue Sky, or Instagram and tag me in it. I really look forward to seeing what everyone does. One last shout out to Rosie on all this, George for lending me the Gordon model I used, as well as Noah for his Henry cylinder CADs. I'll be seeing you all next time I have something worth showing off, and I'm gonna skedaddle.